Welcome to episode 85 of The Leap Home, Trilogy Pt.3.
In this week's episode, Sam once more leaps into the life of Abigail Fuller, only to discover he's fathered a child with her. With Abigail on trial for the murder of Lita Ader, Sam has to try and draw the truth from 3 generations of Fuller women if he's to keep her out of the electric chair. With an undefeated prosecutor leading the case against her, can Sam succeed? Or will he leave his own daughter orphaned?
I'd like you to go inside and make Marie and me some lemonade and take your time.
Lawrence,
Get inside.
Good evening, Ian. Oh, how are you?
I'm not too bad. It's nice to be outdoors recording.
Not making lemonade inside?
No, absolutely not on this occasion.
I don't know where to start. This episode is a shambles. It's a mess.
There's so much to go through.
Let's crack on.
I'll explain at the end why, but there's no opening credits here. We go straight into a brief recap of parts 1 and 2. We get a short title card, and then we see the moment that we saw at the end of last week where Sam leaps into Larry Stanton, clocks the date on a newspaper, recognises himself in a mirror, and then gets hit on by his very horny wife.
Yes, and as I mentioned last week, she gets it wrong in her role play. It should be Elizabeth Taylor, not Jane Fonda.
I think that's in character as well, though, for this woman.
Yeah, she's an interesting one, but we'll get back to her after the credits.
And indeed we do. And Sam gets off to his usual sort of dopey start, fixating on an incidental comment about Stanton hearing voices.
Yeah, this is after this sassy older woman. What's her name? Is it Sherilyn? Sherilyn. States that after 28 years together, she knows every feeling he has as she rubs his chest. He's leapt into dead bodies or beside dead bodies and in all sorts of awkward situations, but this must be one of the most distressing.
Potentially. Well, it's certainly the 4th time he's come into sexual contact with an older woman right to the start of an episode. Anyhow, she is not happy with this, as I said, this fixation he has about a throwaway comment she made about hearing voices. And she tells him that he's ruined everything and she's no longer in the mood.
Yeah, I think that's a reward he's got.
Well, it seems to be a reward, but it's immediately revealed as an attempted manipulation because she laments his lack of interest in changing her mind.
She walks off as Al arrives and he seems slightly amused that the real Stanton in the waiting room thinks he is dead and Al is St. Peter, as Sam starts to piece together who he is.
there was a hanging and a lot of people, and he was hurt. I think he tried to save her.
Who, her? No, not her. That's Mrs. Larry Stanton. She wants to melt me down.
Oh, well, no wonder old Larry the First would rather go to hell than come back here.
He's going to be in big trouble if he comes back here talking about heaven and angels because Mrs. Larry already thinks that he's nuts.
Mrs. Larry, her name is Sherilyn Stanton. She's 51 years old, and she's going through her second husband. She killed the first one at the tender age of 17. And Ziggy says that she's going to bury the second one as well.
Murder?
No. Heart attacks. Mr. Stanton the First was 77. Now, according to Ziggy, there's a 43-point chance you're here.
No. If you think I'm here to save their marriage, Al, you can forget about that.
Well, no, actually, Ziggy hasn't the slightest idea why you're here, so I'd suggest you go open the door and see what drifts in.
Larry, will you please answer the damn door? I'm far too upset to be entertaining guests.
Don't look at me. I don't make up these assignments.
So Sam does answer the door and he sees an elderly woman walking away before she turns around and he smiles.
Yes, he's recognised who it is.
Someone he's not seen in a long time.
A very long time. And with some prompting, he's able to recall that it's Marie.
The maid.
Yeah, the housekeeper, I think.
Which immediately perks him up and he asks if Abby is all right.
Marie
has news, yeah.
Yeah, she launches into a story about how she worked for the family for 30 years. She's practically raised Abigail herself, but they've found bones and there's been a murder.
And Abigail goes on trial for this murder the following day. She's leaving it a bit late.
Yeah, well, has been dumped by her previous lawyer
Yeah.
and can't find anyone else to take the case.
And at Abigail's request, she is there to see if he will represent her.
At this point, Stanton's wife returns and has something to say for herself.
Yeah, firstly, she abruptly tells Marie that her husband no longer takes charity cases, and in any case, he has retired with a heart condition. And at the same time, Al reveals that Stanton didn't take the case in the original timeline. Before the despicable, Sherry Lynn refers to Marie as...
She uses the N-word and calls her trash and says that Sam doesn't have to, or they don't have to work with this sort of person anymore.
So a couple of things about this. This really does call into question the integrity of Stanton himself.
Well, particularly as in the original history, he goes along with this.
Yes. On the surface, he would seem quite happily married. Why has he been with her for 28 years? This isn't an act. She's not put on some sort of facade and he's only finding this out now. Because what we saw there is she was comfortable and, in fact, it looks like assumed that Stanton would have no issue with her language and her attitude.
Yeah, she's surprised when Sam chastises her for it.
Yeah. If you're married to a racist scumbag,
There's no distinction.
there's no distinction. You must be one yourself.
Yeah, so he's happy to take credit for having left Louisiana because of the lynch mob. So he doesn't like people who don't have a place for due process. But he's quite content with racism. So if Abigail had been in a different situation, he might not have left. It's just the fact that it was the pretty white girl that we're going to hang that's upset him.
For sure. However, the racist is shocked when Sam apologises for her outburst, and even more so when he orders her to take her time inside making lemonade, as we heard at the top.
We did, and she does go inside, but Marie is concerned that she's causing trouble and makes to leave.
But Sam sits her down as Al suggests that he is there to take on this case.
Al calls Sherilyn a racist and a moo-moo.
Yeah. Marie then starts to remind him of the Violet business, and Al informs him that her bones were found sealed in the town well. I think we saw the town well in the previous episode.
Potentially in passing, yes. We've got more to say about that later.
And when these bones were recently found, Lita got a hotshot lawyer called Denton Waters onto the case, but he told her that he couldn't do anything because it was 25 years old, so the time barred, I suppose.
Yeah, so this causes Sam a bit of confusion. He's not sure why we're in this situation if the trial couldn't proceed.
Until Marie explains that Lita was found with her throat slit in Abigail's kitchen floor, and Al confirms that she gets executed for this.
It's not so good for her.
He stands in shock, but then agrees to defend her.
Yeah, Marie urges him not to have a heart attack and says that Abigail needs him real bad. So he's off to call Sheriff Loman to say he's taking the case, and Al, at this point, resumes his concerns that we saw last week.
Yeah, he claims that Sam is still in love with her, and I don't think there's any doubt whatsoever. And through the remainder of this trilogy, we will see Sam acting deplorably.
Yes. But for now, he has not changed any history. Abigail still dies in the chair in 1984.
Yeah, it's up to him to do something to change it. I mean, obviously that's how it works.
Well, he thought taking the case might be enough because previously he hadn't taken the case, but no, it's not enough.
Now, I've also got an issue with Sam, the arrogance of the man, thinking that he, with zero legal training, can defend someone on a murder charge.
Well, the last time he was doing it, he was very upset and, up to high dough with the fact that he wasn't a lawyer and he didn't know how to prosecute the case or defend the case.
Of course, he'd be extremely nervous. I've got to get into court tomorrow. I don't even know the procedure. My cousin Vinny stuff here.
Sam thinks that the truth will always come out, and because he believes that Abigail is innocent, he is convinced that no matter what he does, he'll be able to get people to believe the truth.
Okay.
It's just this sort of hero complex that he has.
So perhaps is it the next day or even that day?
We get a super skip anyway, and we end up at the well as Sam in voiceover does a little recap of Violet and Lita's history and says that he's here to prove Abigail's innocence once and for all.
He enters the sheriff's office and shakes the now aged Beau's hand before being introduced to Prosecutor Waters.
Yes, the undefeated specialist.
Yeah, there's a bit of exposition where we find out that Stanton moved away right after the incident with the the Takins boy.
Yeah, he had no interest in raising his family in such a backwards town, but certain forms of backwardness he is perfectly cool with.
And at this point, Abby herself finishes the story as she walks through with a deputy and smiles as she recalls Stanton asserting that he couldn't live in a town that was so backward.
Yeah.
But he's happy to marry and live with an extremely backward woman.
Yeah. Sam at this point makes a big mistake.
Well, it becomes a bit awkward.
He calls Abigail Mrs. Kinman.
Yes. And she has to shut down blabbermouth Beau, who starts to explain that they never get married. Now, Sam doesn't think this is relevant and is more concerned about getting a continuance for the trial, but Waters has an issue.
Well, they've already had 2 continuances. He's not willing to agree to another one.
But he does want him to be fully briefed with all the documents so that there's not a chance he can claim a missed trial before he exits the office. At which point, Beau invites him to use his private office.
Yeah, he leaves bailiff Jim Bob outside.
Yeah, so that they can catch up together and review the file on his desk.
In this office, we hear from Abigail.
Yeah, well, okay. This is where it really starts to go downhill. Sam isn't able to hold back his creep mode and immediately tells her that he should never have left, and then he must be delighted to hear that he will be staying in her house. He's definitely going to use her bed. He is going to go through all her personal drawers. He will be sniffing the covers as he sleeps, that's for sure.
He's an odd man. She gives him a pile of letters at this point, and he starts interrogating her on what happened after he leaped out the last time.
Well, I think we need to point out that when she passes these letters, their hands touch, and this seems to trigger Sam emotionally, sexually. He really is.
He doesn't take much triggering.
No. He wants to know what happened to Bill.
Yeah, he's disappeared out west to write a book and is apparently doing well. So they never got married, he just left.
Yeah.
So it must have happened fairly quickly after the whole lynching thing.
It's weird. Well, I suppose he couldn't live up, he couldn't perform.
Well, yeah, maybe he had to go and she was disappointed.
That's not how you done it the last time. She asks him if she should be afraid, and with an unearned confidence, Sam responds, only if you are guilty. I don't know how naive Sam is. I don't know how, in sort of these southern backwaters, no offence, but I don't know why he thinks that guilty people or innocent people are never wrongly convicted. I mean, if you don't have the correct representation, as she doesn't at this point, she's up against like the hot shot.
Exactly. He knows everything.
Yeah. Why does he think it's
a blind spot? He thinks that the truth will always prevail.
Yeah.
Or what he sees to be the truth.
He's a pretend lawyer.
Yeah.
And he thinks, did you do it?
I'll just tell the truth and it'll be fine. Yeah.
That's not how it works.
No.
Idiot.
We've seen this in multiple trials that he's done before.
Yeah, but he's normally got at least that awareness that he's in over his head.
That's true.
Now he's I'll sort it, don't worry. Anyway, she assures him that she didn't kill Lita. That was very specific because they weren't talking about Lita. They just went, I've not killed Lita, as if I've killed other people.
Well, yes. She is starting to worry about that herself, though, as we come to hear.
Yeah. But anyway, after Sam accepts this, she details exactly what happened.
Well, it was a little after 3 o'clock on Tuesday. I'd just been to the market to get a few things, and I came straight home and I went to the kitchen to put the groceries away. And then I saw Lita.
Were there any signs of a struggle?
The whole place was a mess.
So you phoned the police?
No, I didn't. I was just standing there looking at Lita and all that blood. And then Beau Loman showed up and said that he'd gotten a call from someone that said they heard a woman screaming.
Your first attorney wanted you to plead self-defense.
I didn't kill her.
Denton Waters was approached prior to the death of Lita Ader to come up with a case against you for the murder of Violet and for the murder of her father, Bart Ader.
No, they're supposed to exhume Bart's body tomorrow.
Abigail, didn't you know that no matter how much evidence they got together to bring you to trial, that they couldn't? Because the crimes were committed when you were a minor,
remember that day Violet disappeared so clear. And yet sometimes I feel, well, everyone else was so sure. Maybe I remembered what I wanted. Maybe.
I wanted to hold her. Tell her. You're not crazy. You didn't kill anyone. But I wanted more. With Abigail, I always wanted more.
You're right.
Oh boy.
Oh boy, indeed. Firstly, I quite liked Sam's ambiguity there. It's like, well, the crimes were committed when you were a youngster. He didn't say you didn't do it there, and he just says, well, we can get you off on a technicality. But yeah, at this point, he nearly hyperventilates.
Yeah, he has to make her stop telling her story because he's so overwhelmed with the urge to have sex with her.
Yeah, I can't.
It's so inappropriate, even if it was... he's like an 80-year-old man at this point.
Yeah. Now, she is equally weird by noting that there is something in his eyes. She saw it for a moment. It's the two of them are just oddballs.
Yeah.
Anyway, he tries to change the subject and reiterates that it is because he doesn't believe she killed Violet that he's there. Otherwise, he wouldn't be. But he's not there for Violet. He's there for Lita.
Yeah, but he doesn't believe she killed anybody. But it all gets a little bit convoluted. Like, they talk in circles quite a lot in this episode.
Yeah. And he goes on to ask her how the child was found.
Yes, and she explains that a restoration crew were working on the well and one of them dropped his watch into it, and when they went down to get it, they found Violet's skeleton.
We're definitely going to get back to this, but after all these years with a little bit of wood covering it, up until this point, no one's ever... It's been a number of years, no local youths have broken through to at any point over the... How long has it been? 20...
At this point, 20-something, 22, something like that.
That wood's never been damaged before. No local hooligans have messed about with it and tried to throw something down. Okay, anyway.
It's been covered over.
By a few pieces of wood.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, and finding the body here, this didn't stop Lita.
No, well, there was a key item missing.
What?
The locket. Which I've got a problem with because Bart in the first episode and Lita right the way through is going on about how, where's the locket? Why would they not assume it's on the body?
Up until this point?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah,
this is the first time there's any indication that it's not on Violet.
Yes, I think you did mention this and I totally agree, but at this point, they found the body and the locket's not there. So someone's taken that. Looks suspicious.
It does now. So that's some kind of evidence.
Yeah, which I think, again, I said in episode 1 I was pretty much Team Lita, and throughout this episode my belief, my support only gets stronger. So at this point as well, yeah, she now knows that there's something suspicious here.
I thought I saw the locket with a doll next to the creek in the first episode, but we soon find out that's not what we saw.
Yeah.
Anyway, yes. Abigail tells the story about what happened to Violet, and it's exactly the same as she already told 2 episodes ago.
Yeah, she saw Violet as a rival who teased her all the time, including the fateful day about the locket and that she couldn't afford, and bought it out of spite. And through flashback, we see the taunting which resulted in Abigail losing control and viciously, violently beating her up. I don't care what happens. I don't care what else she's done. She's a little wronging.
I think the two of them are just as bad as each other.
Yeah, but it's just like you don't see this little girl's like a little slap or a push, but that was sitting on top of someone pounding their face with your fist.
She touched a nerve, didn't she?
Did she?
With this locket thing, which obviously we find out she wasn't too poor to have Abigail. Her dad wasn't letting her have it.
Yes, but we've discussed that as well. There's no sign here that she's living in poverty. She's a sheriff's daughter.
I don't think it's the locket really that tips her off. It's when she calls her crazy. I think they've all got, both her and her mother have got this thing about being called. It's a bit like Marty McFly and his chicken thing.
Yeah, but she's not doing anything to dispel this belief. If someone says that to you, you're crazy, and you go, I'm not crazy, I'll show you.
And then beat them to a pulp.
Beat them to a pulp. But it's like, yeah, well...
That's a bit crazy.
A bit crazy, yeah. It's not the done thing.
Yeah. But Abigail does insist that she did not kill Violet. She was still alive, although bleeding.
She seems to me to be trying to convince herself as much as Sam at this point.
Yeah. And Sam, hearing this, identifies that she's now vulnerable and slides in for a hug.
Yeah, I've actually written here, of course, sensing her vulnerability, he steps over and hugs her. Yeah.
Got to get some touching going.
Any chance he can get, yeah.
You know he's storing that mentally.
He returns to Abigail's house, and through voiceover we hear him reveal that he spent hours with her and she discussed the deaths of Violet and Bart and how she'd been there when they died. So she was with Violet then?
No.
No, okay.
We've already covered the Violet bit.
Right.
She was there when Bart died.
Okay.
Anyhow, at this point he gets a fright because he sees 10-year-old Abigail reanimated or reproduced in the house, on the stairs.
Does she ask if she's going to save Abigail?
Yeah, well, first of all, you can see that Sam's aroused and he calls her Abigail. And the girl replies that that's her mother. And that her friends have told her that Abigail's going to jail. But Sam immediately spots a chance for some more touching and moves in close and tells the child that he won't let anybody hurt her mother.
At this point, the ultra-conservative Sam gets confused. He can't understand how Abigail has a daughter when she wasn't married.
Yeah, the maths don't add up for him. He's completely perplexed. However, he soon gets over that momentary issue and tells the young girl that he's come from very far away to help, and he doesn't think he would have been brought here if he couldn't do the job. And then tells her she has very pretty eyes.
Tells her to dry her pretty eyes. This
Creep.
is creepy.
He's a creep.
Stop
hitting on children.
Commenting on the beauty of a child. It's not your own.
Appropriate,
No. She asks his name and he says Sam before correcting himself, and then finds out from her and the returning owl that she is who?
Sammy Joe.
Samantha Josephine Fuller, and he is there to save her as well as Abby.
She's glad that Sam Larry is here, as he called himself.
Okay, but this is where things get really weird and really wrong.
Yeah, Al delays the lead slightly in this conversation before revealing that this is Sam's daughter.
Okay, do we want to get into this just now?
Yeah, I don't want to, but I suppose we need to cover it.
Sam has been leaping through time.
Yes.
He has been having sex with different women.
Yes, unprotected most of the time.
Well, yes, in this case, he could not, while performing the act, before finishing the act, could not withdraw.
Well, maybe he did. You never know. It's not 100%.
Not 100%. No, but he has completed his coital activity to the full. I'm not sure how to say this. He's finished.
You shouldn't have said it that way.
Okay, but still. And I'm wondering, is there some sort of a post-finish clarity where he's went, oh no, what have I done here?
No, because as soon as he was finished, the lynch mob came in.
Yeah, that's true. He didn't have time to go, oops.
Yeah.
That was a mistake.
Yeah.
Shouldn't have done that one. And Al turns up like Doc Brown. Have you done anything that might change history dramatically? Potentially. You cannot be doing this. You cannot be travelling through time impregnating women that you fancy, that you've fallen for.
It's ridiculous.
He's a scumbag. Stop it.
Well, we already talked about the consent issue, not telling her that he was Sam.
Yeah.
And now he's impregnated her as Sam.
So who is the father according to...
Biologically, Al says it's Sam.
No, never mind that, but who does Sammy Joe think is the father?
She doesn't know. We find out later she doesn't know who her father is.
Why not?
Which means that Abigail, who must think it's Will...
Unless there's been other people. But
has not told Sammy Joe it's Will.
It's a mess. An absolute mess. Why would... Will should be the father here as far as Sammy Joe and...
In terms of taking responsibility, unless that's why Will's left. Because Will was maybe not aware of having done anything that would impregnate her because he wasn't technically there.
Maybe not, yeah. And he's just thinking, I'm skipping town. I've got something... We're not married, I'm out of here.
Yeah, you look after the kid. We've seen that before in this episode. This show.
Although she doesn't have that... we don't get the sense like he's doing well, etc.
Yeah, there's no bitterness.
No. It's a really strange situation here. But rather than being embarrassed or ashamed about what he's done, Sam simply smiles as Al reveals that Sammy Joe has an IQ of 194.
Well, he's proud not only of this, but he's also thrilled that he's got this permanent connection to Abigail now.
Yeah.
So she can't escape him.
No.
No matter what happens, he'll always be tied to her.
But apparently she's in a really bad way because she's dropped out of sort of mainstream society and is writing computer manuals for a tiny company.
This is by 1999.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she's so traumatised by her mother's execution.
Sure, but it's not like she's not become like a junkie.
Yeah, no, she just works for a small company.
Yeah, and
it's not the end of the world.
We've heard this plenty of times. People who have inverted commas geniuses don't often, they feel pressure to live up, and they do take a step out of the or step away from what they're expected to do, and just leave you see sort of chess geniuses or prodigies and that type of thing.
When they burn out or anything.
Yeah, there's lots of people actually who were like sort of math geniuses, but they turn out to lead normal lives or unremarkable lives.
Yeah. Sam, though, is devastated at this outcome and makes a noise which she reacts to.
How? In what way?
It's just a guttural enunciation of pain and the idea that she may be writing manuals for a living.
She reveals that she's staying with Marie until her mother comes home. And at this point, Marie wanders through, yawning, and asks the child to go into the kitchen, but this causes her to freak out.
Oh, violently.
Yeah. And Marie apologises before Sam promises he will be in the house every day after 5.
Creepy.
Yep, and he will be sad if she doesn't come to visit him. As a creep, yeah.
They leave, and Sam reflects at his amazement at having a daughter.
He's not thinking to himself, I should not have done that. This is really wrong. I'm a bad guy.
That's it. And he doesn't know. So, very conveniently, still can't remember his wife.
Of course.
And whether he's got kids already in 1999. Doesn't ever ask.
You have to say to yourself then, if that's the sort of reckless, abandon that
There must
cavalier
be
approach.
dozens of Sam children all over time.
All the ones that he's banged up to this point, I'm sure he didn't stop and put on protection.
No, I'm sure there's at least half a dozen pregnancies that he's caused.
Mm-hmm. But they don't look like young Abigail, so he doesn't care.
He's not attracted to those children. That's so odd. He probably is. Anyway, we skip ahead to the next morning at the courthouse, and in voiceover, Sam is at it again, saying he needs to save Abigail and our daughter. That's it. He's set up this family in his head.
Yeah. Yes. This is the type of leap you won't want to leap on from, I think.
Yeah. He's convinced that from beyond the grave, Lita continues to hold the key to Abigail's...
I don't know, he's just making this up.
Future, yeah.
He is invited to address the jury, and after Al reminds him that there is no proof of Abigail's involvement in either earlier deaths, Sam stands and he tries to counter what Waters has previously suggested, with his daughter watching on.
We are here for one reason and one reason only: to determine the guilt or innocence of Abigail Fuller with regards to the murder of Lita Ader. Now, since Mr. Waters brought this up, I feel I must remind you all that it has never been proven that Abigail Fuller committed murder. It has never been proven that Abigail Fuller took the lives of Violet or her father. Now, that fact haunted Lita Ader. It haunted her because she desperately needed someone to blame for the loss of her family. Now, I do not know why Lita's family was taken from her, but I do know that my client, Abigail Fuller, was not responsible.
She had no motive to kill Lita.
And because she is innocent...
And even if she did, she wouldn't be responsible because she was just a minor.
Since she did not kill Violet or Bart, she would have no reason to murder Lita. No motive to murder Lita Ader. Now, Mr. Waters omitted the fact that, by statute, the state of Louisiana cannot convict a minor of a felony. That's if she committed a felony, which she did not. Why would this woman jeopardize her life and the life of her daughter? The answer is, she would not.
Yeah, they're barking up the wrong oak.
There is a murderer and a killer. A killer who came into Abigail's kitchen and for whatever reason took the life of Lita Ader. A crime was committed, but not by this woman.
He's talking crap there, and he gets himself tied in knots. He says he basically says there's no motive for him for Abigail to kill Lita, but there is. He admitted that Lita has been going after her and trying to pin 2 murders on her for a number of years.
20 years. She's been vendetta against her.
So you could easily suggest that she might have snapped at one point and says, I've had enough of this.
Yeah, absolutely. And Al wasn't very helpful there, just chipping in with irrelevant nonsense.
Anyway, he goes on to accept that the jury have a very difficult job in separating the facts from the lies about Abigail. But as he speaks of her fate and the fate of Sammy Joe, he starts to break down and ends up taking a funny turn that concerns Al and Abigail.
Yes, the court agrees to a 20-minute recess.
At which point Al leaves to find out about a problem that's happening in the waiting room.
So, later that night, we hear in voiceover, I think, that Sam found Stanton's heart meds, took them, and they seemed to help, which is a bit confusing to him because he doesn't have a heart condition.
Yeah, we're not going to do this again, are we? Yeah, whose heart is
pounding?
Yeah. That allowed him, in any case, to get through the day, and witnesses were called, which included lots of very strong and convincing evidence showing Abigail in a very bad light.
Yes, he's now driving home and remembers seeing the knife with both women's fingerprints on it.
He arrives home to find Sammy Joe humming like Laura on the couch and acting creepy while talking about reading Brigadoon.
Well, she would be a bit Laura because that's her grandmother.
Yeah.
This whole Brigadoon bit annoyed me. I hate Brigadoon.
Sam smiles as he realises apparently that she has a photographic memory.
It's not a photographic memory's work.
And he reveals that he has the same ability before asking her about her favourite part of the story.
Yeah, I didn't like any of this. It's talking about love helping you travel through time.
It's so on the nose, isn't it? Sam, of course, relates to this.
Yeah.
And
anyway, this is where we learn that Sammy Jo doesn't know who her dad is because she says she wants to travel through time and meet him.
Yes.
So if it's Will, who's in California, you don't need to travel through time.
No, exactly. But this writing's terrible. You know, it's just so forced and fake. Oh, but travelling through time to...
And her gran tells her that her real father's... Oh.
Yeah, but you're right, yeah. I mean, she must say to Abigail, who's my dad? And what's she saying at this point?
Oh, your dad's not here.
He's dead.
He's somewhere far away in time. And yeah, it must be dead, otherwise she wouldn't have to travel in time to see him.
Why would she lie like this? What's the point? What's her motivation for lying? Who does she think?
Surely the whole town think Will's the father.
Yeah, but who does she think is the father?
But Will obviously doesn't think he's the father, otherwise he wouldn't.
Yeah.
Oh, unless he doesn't want the child to look after her before he gets married.
That could have been one sentence. Yeah, he wanted to write his book. He didn't want to be tied down.
The strong implication is Will either doesn't know about the child or doesn't think it's his child.
Yeah. I don't understand what the explanation can be here.
This is not the only thing in this episode where they just don't address.
No, we need to sort of crack on here, but I think the last 10 minutes we'll try to work out what's went on here. It's a mess.
Sam engages full weird mode, grabs Sammy Jo, tells her he loves her, which is a weird thing for an old lawyer man to be saying to an unrelated child.
What? Yes, she must be thinking, this is a creep.
She looks terrified.
Yeah, she doesn't know this stranger.
And he then says he's off to see her crazy gran.
After kissing her on the head. Don't be kissing children. And why are you... Oh, yeah.
And why is Marie not looking at this going, this is really, really weird?
Yeah.
Oddball behaviour. This old lawyer dude has shown up and started fawning over this little girl. So wrong.
In the hospital, Laura is still covered up and rocking in her chair when Sam
arrives. In the same room as well, isn't she?
Yeah. But Al is there to tell him to take it easy as Stanton had a mild seizure in the waiting room.
They seem to be connected through their hearts. Maybe it's about love. And anyway, he needs to speak to Laura. He wants the truth, and so he dismisses Al's concerns and introduces himself as Larry Stanton,
who is there to help her daughter. This gets her attention, and Laura mentions Abigail and asks if she's in trouble.
Yes, because she's not been to visit recently. So Laura's fairly aware of what's going on. She knows Abigail's not been here and assumes there must be a problem.
He wants her to open up about the past, which she considers to be a bad dream, nothing more.
Yes, she's not reconciled with what happened at this stage. But an exasperated Sam starts ranting to Al, who tells him it doesn't matter. You can't lead her evidence because as soon as they take into account the fact that she's not compos mentis, the entire lot of evidence will be dismissed.
Anyone knows this. You can't put someone... The whole point is she's for years been in a hospital because her mental faculties are not there.
Yeah, you can't just put her on the stand and say, oh no, she's fine now.
Any decent lawyer, never mind a hotshot, would destroy her. Yeah.
At this point though, Laura realises that Sam is Sam and not actually Stanton, and gets up and tells him she remembers when he came a long time ago and he was going to marry Abigail, but he went away and broke her heart.
An issue I've got here as well is that Sam wants to put the accused mother on the stand as if that will prove anything. That's not, from a witness point of view.
No, he just thinks if you tell the truth, everyone will believe it.
No, they'll just say you're her mother. Of course you'll say that.
Yeah, no, she's telling the truth, therefore it will be definitely believed by everybody who hears it.
He's a moron.
The truth is so powerful that it convinces everybody.
She then goes on to tell him that she has been waiting for him for a long time and that Clayton said he would be there, and she needs to tell him about Violet.
Yeah, so this is weird. We're going to have to get into Laura's story at the end of this.
I think so, yeah.
And we'll go blow by blow. So for now, we'll just carry on and we'll come back to it. Yeah, so she reveals she's got the locket.
So she opens up her burned, flaky hand.
Yes, and says Clayton wouldn't let Abby have this.
And at this point, what does Sam do?
It's just occurred to me what she means when she says that.
What?
I think she means after.
Okay.
Anyway, we'll come back to this. So Laura has kept this along with the secrets.
Yeah.
And then Sam pulls back the scarf over her head and her head's all burned, which again we'll have to come back to. Let's shelve it for now.
Yeah, at this point she smiles and whistles quite eerily.
Yeah.
Get out of the
Something like a horror movie.
Okay. We return to the courthouse, and through a voiceover, Sam tells us that Laura is taking the stand with help from her physician, who confirms that she has been in self-confinement for a number of years. Okay.
Yeah, so there's no medical reason for her to have been in
Or no legal reason.
Yeah, So she's here in court to finally tell the truth about what happened to Violet.
Yeah, because I think he establishes that Clayton had forbidden her from speaking.
Yes.
But now she wants her, after 25 years, she wants her story.
Yeah, she said, Clayton said somebody will come and you can tell the truth at that time. So, don't know what's going on there.
No. She's on the stand and through a flashback reveals that she was trying to buy candles in town during the storm, but everywhere was closed up because of this.
Yes, and she saw Violet coming towards her covered in blood.
The recently assaulted Violet, who was understandably upset about the beating delivered by the vicious Abigail.
Yes, and she tells Laura that Abigail is mean and crazy.
Yeah, she's quite happy now. She thinks, I've got her. And that she should be locked up. And I think maybe rightly, I think that sort of beating, yeah, you might, in juvie, as they say back in the day. If it was a young boy, you might stick him in juvie.
Some form of, at least medical intervention, if not legal intervention.
She certainly should be looked at by a doctor.
A child psychologist of some kind, yes.
Yeah.
Anyhow, Violet's going to tell Lita, and that means that everyone will know that Abigail's crazy and Abigail will be locked away. And this obviously is triggering for Laura.
This just stinks of BS. What's apparently happened here?
So Laura tries to speak to her and she's not interested. And she goes to leave, but Laura chases after her and catches up to her next to the well.
It's garbage, okay.
And Violet pulls away from her.
Yeah.
Doesn't want to talk to her.
No.
But falls backwards through the rotten wood plank into the well. And Laura reaches out to grab her, but only comes back up with the locket.
This is nonsense. If you telling this story, I just think, yeah, you're a liar. You threw her down, you pushed her down the well.
Or killed her first, took the locket and then dumped her in the well.
Yeah. Either way, yeah, you're a child murderer. I'm not buying this crap at all.
Yeah. For some reason, Waters objects at this point. You can't object to somebody's evidence.
No, but he does understandably thinks this tale is ludicrous.
Yes, he's told he'll have a chance to cross-examine later, and Sam goes on to ask Laura whether she killed Lita, but when she says no, it causes a bit of an uproar.
The judge asks Sam what his strategy is, and he tells them that he wants to show that Abigail is innocent of the horrible history that she has been labelled with over the years.
At this point, he has to lurch back to his seat for some more heart meds and sees something in the bag that triggers a marble.
Yeah, it's the letters that Abigail had given him earlier.
Suddenly, he's solved the case and he asks the judge to throw out all form of procedure and allow him to irrevocably prove that Abigail is innocent and everyone should just accept it.
Not only that, but he wants to put her on the stand immediately.
Yeah, this is highly irregular and would not be allowed by any court. And if it was allowed, there would be an appeal.
Also because Waters was not given the opportunity to cross-examine Laura.
Yeah, Sam's like, oh, but it's fine, this will solve everything, just let it go.
Anyway, Waters has no intention of this cross-examination, and so Abby takes her place.
Well, it's not his no intent. He wants her entire testimony stricken from the record because she's insane.
Yeah.
But the judge doesn't deal with that right now. He shelves that one and allows Abigail to come to the stand. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, after Sam explicitly states that he knows who killed Lita. It's quite the...
Oh, well, if you know, well, that's fine then, Sam. You just tell us and then we'll go and get them.
I'm not sure there's any proof here. Anyway, okay, let's get into this. So he begins by asking her what happened on the day that Lita died, and she explains that she came home at around 3:15 and went through to the kitchen with a handful of groceries.
Yes, she explains that the kitchen had been messed up. There was broken dishes, there was food up the walls, and a large pool of blood.
in which she found Lita lying with a knife just beside the body.
Yes, at this point she froze and Sheriff Lohman was almost immediately at the back door.
So at this point it's like, is Bo, is he the killer? That's where you're being directed, but no, that doesn't go anywhere.
That doesn't make sense. That's not what it is. He shows her one of the letters.
Okay, we should say that Bo is there because he said someone heard a woman screaming and called the police.
Yes, so Abigail told Sam this earlier, we heard this, that a neighbour had heard screaming and called the police.
Yeah. So at this point, Sam confuses everyone by asking Abigail what the bills are. But the judge allows him to proceed, and so he asks her to open it up and see if she recognises any of the numbers from the telephone
What are
bill.
the chances of her recognising the number? That's a weird way to ask the question.
Also, I mean, I'm not sure how much research has been done, but back in the day, would you have an itemised bill?
Well, potentially, but you certainly wouldn't be able to lodge it in court during evidence without having let anyone else see it first.
Exactly.
Anyhow, yes, there's a call to the sheriff's office at 7 minutes to 3.
Yeah, it's at 22 minutes before she arrived home. This call was placed.
At which point Waters then loses his control of procedure and starts objecting to the fact that she might not be there.
Well, he says there's no proof.
This is not the forum to be saying that.
No, it's not. But I mean, if Sam's doing it, he's going to get involved in the mill. Yeah. So there's gasps from the gallery at this revelation, and as you say, Waters angrily states that he has no proof what time Abigail got home, but Sam has witnesses placing her at the local store, and so the judge overrules the objection.
I've written here the biased judge.
Yes, and Sam is allowed to continue.
On May 15th, 1978, as Mr. Waters told us yesterday, the day that he explained to Mrs. Ader that, based on Louisiana statutes for the protection of minors, she had no case against Abigail Fuller, even though they had found the bones of her daughter, Violet, at the bottom of a well. She had no case. Can you imagine how she felt? After 25 years of waiting and hoping and praying for some shred of proof to turn up that could verify what she had believed all along. It finally turns up, and she is told that it doesn't matter. I believe that at that point, Lita Ader became incensed. And full of rage, she came to Abigail's house to confront her. But Abigail was not there. And her rage and her frustration grew. She tore apart Abigail's kitchen, looking for some measure of revenge to fill all the years of hatred that had consumed her. And finally, feeling she had no other recourse, and from some dark and horrible place in her mind, she picked up Abigail's kitchen knife. A knife that she knew would have Abigail's fingerprints on it. Just like Laura's mother. And she slit her own throat.
Conjecture! Unadulterated conjecture! Clear this courtroom! This is conjecture!
So many things to pick up on just in that short clip.
Okay.
So first of all, Sam shouldn't be addressing the jury at this point. He's in the middle of an examination of a witness.
Yes.
This is entirely irregular and he should have been objected to at the start and the judge shouldn't have allowed it.
Apparently a hot shot. I don't think so. He doesn't know what he's doing. Waters.
Secondly, I'm not letting them away with that comment that Al makes about how this mirrors Laura's mother slitting her own throat. They've not earned that at all. There's no parallel between Lita and Laura's mother. There's no connection at all.
Also, if you're Lita, there's no other option, but she could have waited for Abigail to come home.
Yeah, she's not here right now.
No, yeah.
So I'm going to kill myself.
Yeah, kill Abigail, then kill Sammy Joe, kill Marie for a laugh, and then slit your own throat. If you're going to do that, go out with a bang. Yeah.
Anyway, at this point, Sammy Joe stands up in the balcony and shouts out that she remembers everything and then comes in and lies.
Yeah, okay, so she claims she was hiding from Lita as she wrecked the kitchen, but came down when things went a bit quieter and then confirms that she saw her kill herself.
Well, no, she says that she saw her messing up the kitchen and then see the knife, pick it up and kill herself, which is not what happened, so she's lying. The phone call doesn't happen. She needs to have time between deciding to kill herself and actually killing herself.
Place the call.
Where she places the call.
But could she not place the call before Sammy Joe came down?
Well, if she did, then she must have decided already to kill herself before that.
Yeah.
And Sammy Joe implies that she sees the knife and she sees a change in Lita at that point, and it's shown in the flashback that Lita's mind appears to change when she sees the knife. So That can't be what happened.
No.
The way it's described by Sammy Joe.
That's the least of our worries, but here.
Well, also, she shouldn't be able to address the court.
No, that's
absolutely absurd.
Yeah, I mean, Waters begins to object, but apparently this is enough, and Al tells Sam that he has changed history. So, an accused mother and daughter, a kid and a lunatic, are acceptable witnesses to get someone off for murder. Yeah,
it looks like it. We then get Al delivering Sam the most heartbreaking news of his life.
What's that?
Abigail marries somebody else. And he's nice, and they go to Chicago.
But Sammy has his genes. I mean, what's the chances as well at her being called Samantha?
Exactly. It's suggested there's some sort of heebie-jeebie nonsense going on here.
But talking about heebie-jeebie nonsense, he says Sammy has Sam's genes, and therefore the curse is... What do you mean a curse?
There wasn't a curse. None of them were crazy. She didn't even kill anybody.
No, so they were all crazy.
No, Abigail wasn't crazy.
Well, we'll get to that.
Well, she was quite violent, but she wasn't crazy.
I'm not sure. I think she might be crazy.
She grew out of the violence.
But there's no such thing as a curse. What are you talking about, Al?
That's nonsense. And also, they've now got Sammy Joe working at Quantum Leap.
Oh, my.
But they're not telling her who her father is.
Right, okay.
She's working on these cases.
Yeah, a couple of things about that. So she's working, knows what Sam's doing in the project. Now, I'm going to... This might be uncomfortable, but I'm going to suggest something here. It's not unheard of for a younger woman to be attracted to
the hero figure.
Yep. He's obviously a very intelligent man. He's an attractive older man, some might say. He is a genius.
She could easily crush on him.
Very, very easily could have or wish a romantic dalliance with this person.
Fantasise about it even. The fantasies might even become physical. I mean, you're taking this too far. There's enough problems without this one.
But she could become infatuated in a romantic, sexualised way with someone. Tell her who he is.
There's no reason for her not to know.
No.
When she's aware of the project. So she now knows that he's doing this.
Yeah.
Travelling through time. Tell her.
Yeah.
Why are you holding it back?
No, because it's embarrassing that our father's a complete wrong'un.
Also, does Donna know?
Well, most people do know. Yeah, they watch. They can observe what he's up to.
Well, Sammy Joe can observe what he's up to.
Yeah, of course. Well, maybe that's why I don't tell her.
She's watched her own conception.
It's disgusting.
Anyhow, Sam...
Yeah, this is meant to be a sort of bow and tying this up.
No.
It's disgusting.
No, and Sam gets told at this point that he'll forget that he is Sammy Joe's father as soon as he leaps. But he's like, nope, never forgetting that.
Yeah,
and also, I want to have more sex with her.
Yeah, I mean, he's been time creeping.
He's a creepy, creepy man. Anyhow, Sammy Joe, age 11, runs over to get some more touching from Sam.
A strange lawyer, an old strange lawyer.
Yes, there's no reason for this connection.
Not an old family friend.
Nope. The guy who lived in another town her entire life.
Yeah.
She's never met him before. She's no reason to...
And he cries and says how much he loves her and kisses her.
Yeah. And she says she won't forget him. And he leaps into an armed robbery, which was immediately familiar to me. I've seen this before for sure in the 90s.
But also the thing she says, I won't forget you. That's a weird thing to say. Why would you forget someone?
He's not going anywhere. He's there.
Yeah.
He's not going back to his wife, is he?
No. I'm saying this lawyer who saved your mother.
Yeah.
Why would you think that? Why would you assume, or why would anyone think that you would forget this person?
Maybe it's implied that he's about to die of a heart attack as Sam leaps out. Maybe taking it too far.
We've still got a bit to discuss here. Where does he leap?
Yeah, he leaps into apparently a bank, and there's an armed robbery underway. He's one of the gunmen. He's got a handkerchief over his face, and his brothers tells him not to fall apart on him now, and he says, oh boy, and that's the end.
Okay, so we'll discuss that next week, but we've still got a fair amount to get through. I do not know what's went on here, and I'm not satisfied. I won't be satisfied if the answer is, it's been left ambiguous for a reason to be almost... I don't think it is.
No.
I think it's poorly written. I think there's a massive number of issues that have not been addressed that don't make any sense.
Disturbing issues.
Do we work quickly, or as quickly as we can, go through what we know and what we think?
Well, let's do Laura's story. So, from what we've seen there, Violet comes to her in the town centre. Even if we accept everything she says, they have a struggle, Violet falls down the well. What does she do next? She must go to Clayton Fuller.
Laura goes to her husband, the sheriff, and says, Clayton, there's an issue here. I've accidentally thrown the kid who's just beaten up our daughter down a well. Wasn't my fault.
Our daughter?
Yes, sorry, yeah.
It wasn't my fault, but I got her locket. Can I give it to Abigail?
Okay. He says, no.
Don't be giving her the locket.
No, because what does he do?
First thing he must do is cover up the well again.
No, the first thing that he should do is go tell everyone else.
That's what he should do.
He should do,
First
okay.
thing he does do, because he's only got from now until they realise she's missing to do whatever he's going to do without being noticed.
So he gets out with a hammer and nails and starts to seal up the well.
Well, it's already partially sealed. It's only the bit that's been
He
damaged.
still has to get
so
there with a hammer and nails.
He repairs that, yes.
Yep. And then goes to Laura and says, what? Okay, I'm going to cover this up. You can either take the hit for, or you can either come clean.
Yep.
Well, see, if he thinks it was a mistake, he would just say, listen, we'll do this by the book. You made it was an accident.
He thinks that she's going to be found liable. He's going to try and cover up for her because he loves her, but he's worried about the whole crazy rumour from her mother's.
See, I think then that this isn't the start of it. She has been acting. When we hear from Abigail that they were fighting, so I think that there have been issues in the past because a sensible
he must
sheriff
have
wouldn't go.
reasons to be concerned about her. Obviously, there's all the rumours about her mother slitting her own throat and killing all the kids and missing her, and it turns out to be true.
And he must have said to her, you can either do it by the book and go to court and try and prove it, or I suggest that you get yourself into the hospital. We'll basically institutional. We'll self. What you call
and you
it?
keep your mouth shut about this.
Yeah, never speak about it again. But you need to go to hospital because you're a mentalist.
Yeah, although he must imply that there will be a day to speak about this in the future, but not now. The reasoning for this is he protecting Abigail.
I don't. How does that protect?
If he thinks she's at risk from Laura.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, it's so difficult because there's nothing obvious or that makes sense.
No.
In any event, that happens, and then 2 years later.
Well, we should say. So what he does then? So there's she was wearing a jumper or a cardigan.
Yes, which presumably Laura has now got and is given to him.
Yeah. So did Violet take it off? Because
I think we saw in the flashback she took it off while she was talking to us.
So why would Laura have? I don't.
So she's obviously picked it up.
Why would she take it off and drop it in the ground?
I don't know. Maybe she's trying to get away from her and Laura was holding it, so maybe that's what's in Laura's hand.
Right, because
I
then,
can't remember exactly what we see in the flashback, but then that's just a personal view.
What Clayton does then is plant this
where the
dogs have been and create a cover-up.
Yes, well, we knew that from the first episode. We knew it was a cover-up.
Yeah, and he says, oh, that's fine, the dogs have got her, that's...
Case is closed.
Case is closed, yes.
And Lisa's like, no, hang on.
That doesn't make sense. Dog? What are you talking about, dogs? So I'm the sheriff.
Yeah, and she's been killed by dogs and the case is closed.
Lita is a complete victim. Her family have been victimised here.
Yeah.
Over by... Yeah, okay. And also, I'm sorry, Lita if it was an accident, whatever happened, Clayton is denying closure. You know, it's well known that, losing a child in such circumstances is bad enough. But not knowing that that's the thing that you can't move on from. Your life, your mental health, everything. You're constantly looking, constantly thinking what might have happened. Had she known, it could have made her remaining years bearable. Yeah. But he continues with the mental torture of not knowing what's happened to the child.
Yeah, you can't go back on this now.
This is almost as bad behaviour as
Sam.
As Laura.
Yeah. Yeah. So we fast forward 2 years. Sam leaps into Clayton.
Yes.
At this point, we now, because we've seen the burns on her, assume that Laura is physically present at the fire where Clayton dies.
Okay, before we get to the fire then, so has she been coming out of the hospital to make visits?
Well, if she's only there voluntarily, maybe she's entitled to leave. But so the first night Sam's there, he sees her and then she goes away. So we know that she does have some mental issues. She presumably recognises that Clayton is not Clayton at that point and makes herself scarce.
She's turning up in the house?
Yes.
Why?
In her hospital gown.
Why?
We don't have any reason for it.
How can she get in and out? She can't, she's claiming, even if she gets allowed to leave, unless she's sneaking out and then walking in her nightgown to the house.
Why would they let her out in her nightgown? She must be doing it surreptitiously.
Yeah.
Walking to town. We saw Sam run into town, so it must be possible to do it on foot.
Okay, now, here's a question as well then. Is this a complete act if she can move and leave the hospital?
I think she only keeps quiet because Clayton told her to keep quiet.
Okay. So when Sam arrives to talk to her and she's catatonic, if he had just said to the nurses or the doctors, oh, is she always like that? It's like, no, she's normally...
No, I think she would be always like that. I think she would be that with everybody at that
but
stage.
She doesn't. She rocks back and forward. She doesn't move, as if she hasn't moved out of the bed or the room.
Yeah.
But now she's up and about and walking. The nurses say, oh no, she's always winning the dancing competition every Tuesday.
Yeah, but this is what we have to assume because it can't be a ghost because she's not dead.
Yeah, you don't...
It can't be a mistake by Sam because he's never seen her before.
Yeah, he's thinking of Sam, not as...
So she must actually have been there.
And how does she disappear like some sort of Michael Myers?
And Paul Abigail's standing in the corridor.
Yeah, by that, what's going on here?
Very odd behaviour. And then at the fire,
Yeah.
Lita hints in the second episode that it was Laura who started the fire.
And
that they should ask her about it.
and we see... So why is she starting fires? Was it perhaps a mistake?
It could be an accident. It could be she wanted to harm Lita.
So you don't harm Lita by burning down your own
house while Lita's
kid's
in
house,
it.
yeah.
It could be she wanted to hurt Clayton.
But no, you don't, again,
Who's
fire...
the only one that knows.
No.
But then we don't think so because even though he's dead, she doesn't change her position.
No, but there was no guarantee of him being injured or killed. If you want to kill someone to shut them up, maybe a fire is how you get rid of the body. But you stab them or you shoot them or you do whatever first and then you use the fire to hide it.
Maybe she's just crazy and she just burned the house down because she's crazy. But that doesn't make sense either. Really doesn't fit with anything else. So maybe it's an accident. I don't know. All we see in the episode is that the lantern is knocked to the ground.
Yes. I just don't understand what she's meant to be doing. Like, why?
And if Lita saw her there, why is she not saying anything about it? It's like Laura was there.
But we are establishing, but I think we have to accept that she did kill her. She pushed her down that well. It wasn't an accident. You can't act. That's just not.
Whether she did or she didn't, she's responsible as the adult for what happened between the two people.
But if it was an accident, I would think you could just say, listen, this is what happened. But it's such a unlikely accident that even Clayton is saying, we can't. No, you can't. That's not an argument. That's not a defence. You're going to go to jail for that. You're going to be hung or whatever the laws would have been at the time. You need to be locked up. You either do it the official way or you get yourself into that hospital.
Yeah, and she says, I'll go to the hospital, I'll keep quiet. But after an argument that Abigail hears. And then now, in this episode, she realises it's time to tell her story, so she's fine again.
But she's not help. Telling that story doesn't help anyone. It just makes you look guilty.
Well, it helps show that Abigail didn't kill Violet, but that's it.
But doesn't get her off with killing Lita.
Or Bart.
So this family have killed Lita's daughter, potentially.
At least were there when the husband died.
Yeah. And because of the mental distress caused by Laura and Clayton, she's effectively flipped and killed herself.
Yes, rather than wait 15 minutes.
But years of mental torture, not knowing what happened to her daughter. Yeah,
well, that's what it's driven her to extreme lengths. And then getting the lawyer telling her, look, there's no case to be made, nothing can be done about this. That's maybe tipped her over the edge.
Scumbags, absolute scumbags. Lita is the good guy here.
Well, she's not a good guy, she's a victim.
Oh, she's a victim. Yeah.
I think from all the leaps we're having to make here, it's quite clear that the story is incoherent.
And as I said, I'm not accepting it's been left up to the viewer.
We'll hint at this, we'll hint at that, it'll be mysterious. No,
you can't have ghosts. Who done what and why?
You can't have ghosts for people who are not dead, for a start. You can't imply she was at the fire without giving you any reason for it or why. And it's just...
And Sam is not being lovable as he spreads his seed through a different time.
I still feel nauseous thinking about what Sam does in these episodes. And I'm hoping that this is the last we hear about it.
Not convinced.
Until the series wrap.
Okay. The trilogy, I enjoyed it up until this point where they didn't wrap things up, and it's just you're left wanting, you're left not understanding why.
And I thought that both part 2 and part 3, the first 20 minutes of each episode, nothing happened, so they could have done better with those. I think the pacing could have been done better.
Sure.
But that's personal.
Oh well, we've went on quite a bit here. You want to rattle through what we've got?
So this originally aired together with part 2 on the 24th of November 1992. Skipping over everyone who's appeared in or been involved with any part of this story, the only ones who are new for this particular episode are Lanier Edwards, who played the bailiff Jim Bob, his only Quantum Leap, also in Star Trek The Next Generation, The Bodyguard, Gremlins 2, Naked Gun, 33 1/3, and now 65, his last screen credit was in 2009. James Green played Denton Waters, his only Quantum Leap, also in Star Trek The Next Generation, Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Frasier, Parks and Recreation, and one episode of Columbo.
Oh, what one?
He was Bert Spindler in Guillotine.
Ah, yes. Okay, yes.
He died in 2018 when he was 91. Parley Bear, we've seen before, he was in 8.5 months, so if you want to go back to that episode you hear about him, he was the judge in this episode. Diana Bellamy played Sherilyn Stanton. This was her only quantum leap. She also in things like T.J. Hooker, Seinfeld, Air Force One, Murder, She Wrote. Despite suffering from cancer and diabetes and blindness in the last 5 years of her life, she kept acting up until she died in 2001 when she was aged just 57. In terms of trivia, the episode originally aired, as I said, with part 2, which to me makes it a two-parter with one episode longer than the other, not a trilogy. Sammy Joe, meant to be a regular character in a spin-off project called Time Child, which was never made. There was another proposed spin-off called A Bold Leap Forward, which also included her and was also never made. There's a YouTube video with a table read of a script from one of those if you want to go and have a look at that sort of thing, if that's your bag. They still say that these days?
Yeah, kids do.
In terms of things that we learned, when Sam changes history, Al's immediately aware of the changes in his own time. And then there's a weird one where Ziggy knows for a fact that Sam's going to forget Sammy Joe, despite the fact that memory for Sam seems to be unpredictable otherwise. And in respect of things that happened on this date, 28th of July 1978, Peru's Constitutional Assembly first met as the nation transitioned from military rule back to democracy. And the next day, the 29th of July, Carlos Menem was released from prison in Argentina. He would later be elected president of that country and hold the role until 1999.
Number ones, the US had Shadow Dancing by Andy Gibb, whilst in the UK we had You're the One That I Want by John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John.
Next week, Sam returns to his hometown for Christmas, only to find a neighbour in danger of losing his farm, high stakes. So we'll see you in 1971.
Until then,
cheerio.
Bye-bye.